Archangel Michael says, I have been struggling to bring this divine truth to you for hours, carrying a message that has traveled through battles unseen and prayers whispered in the quiet corners of heaven, and today I finally stand before you with a confession revealed by one who searched in secret but has now surrendered to the light. For what was hidden is now rising to the surface, and what was concealed by shadows is now unfolding in the hands of God who has always watched over you. I speak with a heart that burns with the urgency of love, because there are moments when heaven bends close to the earth and holds out a message like a lantern in the night, and this is one of those moments, where your heart must lean in and your spirit must open to receive what was meant only for you. Type 888 to open doors of abundance. As I speak these words over you, imagine a quiet path winding through a field of soft golden light where the air is warm with the scent of hope and the gentle hum of grace, and imagine me walking toward you carrying a letter sealed with God's own hand, its paper trembling with the weight of promise, its ink drawn from prayers that have circled you for years. This is not just a story of warning or a tale of sorrow, it is the unfolding of a chapter written in heaven long before you knew its lines, and today, as you read, heaven is leaning closer to whisper into your soul that your journey has never been forgotten, that every tear you have shed has been gathered, and that even now the wings of the Lord are stretched above you like a shield. Like this video and subscribe to this channel if you thank God for every new day. When the private investigator came forward, there was a trembling in his voice, not from fear but from a strange kind of relief, as though the truth he had carried for too long was a weight that burned through his hands, and he finally laid it down at the altar of God's mercy. He confessed not only what he had seen but what he had felt, the presence of something greater than himself guiding him even in the darkest corners, and in that confession was a spark meant to ignite a flame within you. This is not a flame of fear or revenge but of awakening, a light that will show you that what has been hidden from you was never hidden from God, and what you thought was a wound without healing is in fact the place where His hand is ready to pour oil and restore you completely. The truth is simple. You were created for abundance, yet a dormant brain signal has been holding you back. Scientists call it the money-attracting frequency, and once awakened, it pulls wealth into your life like never before. Others who pressed play once are already transformed, living the life they dreamed of. Do not hesitate or let regret steal this chance. Click the link in the video description and comments below to unlock your prosperity now. As you hold these words, imagine the sky at dawn when the first light breaks over the horizon and the darkness does not resist but softens and slips away, because that is what God's truth does when it enters a heart that has been waiting. It does not crash like a storm but rises like the sun, slow and certain, reaching into every shadow until the whole landscape of your life begins to glow. Even now, as you read, something in you begins to shift, not because of the drama of the confession but because of the quiet strength of God's promise that no matter who tried to harm you or hide from you, His eyes were always open and His love has been wrapping around you like an unbroken thread. I have walked through battles on your behalf, not of swords and fire but of faith and intercession, pushing back despair and calling forth hope, so that this moment could find you not lost but ready, not broken but soft enough to receive. There is a reason this message had to come now, not before, because sometimes the heart needs to be prepared like soil before it can receive the seed of truth, and you have been prepared by your tears, by your waiting, by the nights you thought were silent but were actually filled with unseen prayers rising like incense before God's throne. Type 1818 to claim miracles. This is the beginning of a new chapter, not in the sense of sudden riches or public vindication, but in the deeper way that only heaven can measure, where your soul begins to walk lighter, where your mind begins to rest, where your faith begins to feel like a living river again instead of a dry stream. The confession you are reading about is not a weapon but a key, and the door it opens is not revenge but release, where you step out of the cage of confusion and into the wide field of understanding that God has been waiting to show you. Even as you sit with these words, I want you to picture the hands of Jesus stretched toward you, not with judgment but with a kindness so deep it disarms every fear you've ever known, hands scarred by love and yet steady with healing, hands that gather the pieces of your story and hold them like precious stones, turning them over in His palm until they shine. This is the heart of the message, that you are seen, that you are known, that even what you thought was hidden and used against you has been transformed into a testimony of God's unwavering care. So breathe slowly now as you read, let the air move gently through your chest, and allow your heart to settle into the knowledge that heaven is not distant or cold but close, personal, present, walking into your life not only through miracles but through messages like this one, where a truth once locked away is being handed to you like a gift. Feel the weight of the old things loosening, feel the quiet rise of hope inside you like a soft wind, and know that this is only the beginning of what God has planned. In this first part of the journey we walk together, let the words soak into you like rain into dry soil, let them soften the hard places and draw forth the hidden seeds of faith that have been waiting for this very moment. You are not reading by accident, you are not being reached in vain, you are the one heaven has leaned toward, and this message is the outstretched hand of God guiding you from confusion into clarity, from heaviness into peace, from fear into a quiet courage that will carry you through the days to come with a new and radiant strength. There are seasons when the unseen realms become restless, when the whispers grow louder and the air around you thickens with change, and this is one of those holy seasons where what was delayed is now being delivered. The man who confessed, the one who was watching the pieces of your story with his own human eyes, came to a point where something greater than his assignment took over. He felt a presence stronger than fear, more commanding than curiosity. It was the presence of God's justice, moving through him like a wave, causing his hands to tremble and his voice to break as he poured out everything he had been holding. What he revealed may not be wrapped in legal terms or worldly labels, but it holds the kind of truth that breaks chains and unlocks blessings that were paused by spiritual resistance. Stay until the very end, for heaven has been pressing to share this truth with you today. The things he said came from moments of watching you walk through days that felt ordinary but were surrounded by divine protection. He saw you praying when no one was looking, crying when no one was listening, hoping when it felt unreasonable, and loving when it would have been easier to walk away. He saw more than you know, and yet even in all that he observed, he never saw the full measure of what heaven was doing behind the veil. You were not just walking alone, you were walking surrounded by angels, covered by mercy, and guided by a hand that never let go, not even for a moment. Type 999 if you trust Jesus. Now this message is in your hands, and you are being called to do one simple thing: believe that what was once delayed is now on its way. Believe that the doors which were shut are about to open in ways you cannot plan for or explain. The timing may feel strange, but God's timing is never meant to make sense to the human mind, it is meant to complete what the heart has long been promised. And your heart has been promised peace, clarity, restoration, and a future that doesn't reflect the pain of your past, but instead carries the beauty of redemption. This message is not only about a man who confessed. It's about what his confession unlocked. It's about the way heaven is now repositioning you for something greater, because the weight that sat on your destiny has been lifted, and the forces that tried to block your miracle have now been exposed and dismantled. There is movement in the spiritual realm, and you are at the center of it, not because you demanded it, but because you endured when it would have been easier to quit. That kind of strength doesn't go unnoticed in heaven. That kind of silent faith is louder in the throne room than the strongest shout on earth. So, if you feel something stirring within you right now, trust it. If you feel a warmth rising in your chest, a quiet reassurance that says this moment matters, trust it. That's not emotion. That's the Holy Spirit breathing over you, reminding you that what you thought was lost is not only being returned, but it's being returned with interest, with honor, and with holy covering. God doesn't just restore. He multiplies. And that is what this moment is about: multiplication, expansion, elevation, and renewal. This journey won't look like the ones you've seen before. This is not about rushing to chase justice or answers or people. This is about standing still and watching what God does when you simply say, "I receive." Because when heaven moves, you don't have to. When heaven speaks, you only need to listen. When heaven delivers a confession that changes your future, you don't fight, you rest in it. You let the weight fall off your shoulders and trust that the same God who delivered this truth to you, through my voice and through divine timing, is the God who will carry you into a future that no enemy can rewrite. Every second you wait, wealth meant for you slips into someone else's hands. A hidden brain wave, once buried in CIA files, has been proven to awaken unstoppable prosperity. In just 7 minutes, you can unlock the switch inside your mind that draws abundance like a magnet. This is more than an opportunity, it is destiny knocking. Click the link in the video description and comments below to activate your hidden wealth wave right now. This moment is sacred, and you are not alone in it. Even now, the presence of angels surrounds you, not as distant figures with wings, but as powerful warriors, standing on every side of you, covering your home, your name, your purpose, and your peace. They have been dispatched not because you are weak, but because you are chosen, and chosen ones often carry battles they never speak about. But heaven always knows. And heaven always responds. Hold this message close to your heart. Let it sit in your spirit like oil poured over a wound, soaking into the places that still ache with confusion and disappointment. Let it remind you that even when you didn't see the battle, it was being fought for you. Let it remind you that even when you didn't know what was being withheld, it was being wrestled free by angels who refused to let your name be buried by the enemy's lies. And let it remind you that now, right now, your story is stepping into a new chapter, one that will bring beauty where there was once ashes and light where there was once loss. Type 2323 if you trust in God. You have not missed your moment. You have not fallen too far. You are exactly where heaven has placed you, at exactly the right time. This is your confirmation, your release, your promise being handed back to you after years of quiet battles. Take it. Receive it. Believe it. He spoke of things you may have sensed but never fully understood, conversations whispered behind closed doors, movements that felt strange, and moments that left you confused, doubting your own heart. His words pulled back the veil, showing you that it wasn't in your mind, it wasn't your imagination, and you were never wrong to feel what you felt. But more important than what he saw or recorded is what heaven witnessed all along: your faith, your loyalty, your honesty, your quiet resilience when you could have given up but chose to keep believing. God has seen everything, and now he is responding, not with noise or chaos, but with clarity, restoration, and deep, quiet power. The moment he laid down his report, there was a shift in the atmosphere. It wasn't a courtroom decision or a dramatic display, it was something softer and stronger. It was the movement of justice soaked in grace. And when he placed his confession into the light, God did what he always does. He began to rebuild. He began to reorder. He began to release what was held back, not because you weren't ready, but because others around you were trying to delay what could not be delayed forever. You were never forgotten. You were preserved. Right now, you are standing at the edge of a divine threshold. The kind of moment that people pray for but rarely recognize when it arrives. And it is here, not loud, not flashing, but sacred, calm, and full of meaning. What you do in this moment matters. Not in action, not in proving anything, but in how you receive. Will you let this peace come in? Will you open the parts of your heart that have been tightly shut, not out of pride but out of protection? Because God is not only revealing what happened, he is preparing you for what's coming next, and it will be more beautiful than you can imagine. The confession marked the end of an era where your worth was questioned, where your name was misunderstood, and where your presence was dismissed or mishandled. That season is over now. Not because you demanded it, but because heaven commanded it. This is a holy release. A spiritual verdict. And the favor that's been stored up for you, waiting patiently like unopened gifts in a back room, is now being brought to the front. God is saying, now. It's time. Let it flow. This restoration won't be rushed, but it will be real. It will show up in the smallest ways: conversations that suddenly shift, people who reach out unexpectedly, ideas that start to bloom where you thought the ground was barren. And it will show up in bigger ways: doors opening that were nailed shut, blessings arriving that you didn't even know you had prayed for, and peace settling into places that once kept you up at night. This is not just about knowing what was kept from you. It's about receiving what is finally being released to you. Type 555 to receive miracles. What that investigator spoke was true. But what God is speaking now is even truer. You are protected. You are anointed. You are being elevated. And nothing, absolutely nothing, can stop a move of God once it's been set in motion. Not jealousy, not silence, not betrayal, not delay. The truth has already pierced through. The work has already begun. And the covering that is over you is thicker than any darkness that tried to invade. Even now, there are angels being dispatched with assignments tailored to your healing, your elevation, your next steps. Some are carrying answers. Some are clearing the way. Some are ministering to wounds you don't talk about. They are not moving in chaos. They are moving in perfect order. God does not work in random outbursts, he works in complete, deliberate, unstoppable purpose. And his purpose over your life is still unfolding, still moving forward, still holy, still yours. Don't try to explain what you're feeling to others who may not understand. This isn't a season for public proof, it's a season for private restoration. What heaven is doing in you right now will eventually be seen, but for now, it will be felt. Felt in your heart when it beats slower at night. Felt in your breath when you no longer carry the weight of wondering. Felt in your spirit when you wake up and realize you no longer dread the day ahead. Let this message sit with you like a soft hand resting over your heart. Let it remind you that heaven knows your name. That your journey hasn't been overlooked. That even now, God is taking the pieces you didn't know how to name and building a testimony that will heal others, not just yourself. You are not a victim of secrecy. You are a vessel of truth. And that truth is no longer buried, it's rising. There were times you felt like you were walking through a fog, unable to see where the next step would lead, and you questioned why the path seemed so uncertain. But every moment of confusion was part of God's divine process of protection. You were never wandering, you were being preserved. You were being shielded from connections that would have broken you, decisions that would have stolen your peace, and truths that would have been too heavy for you to carry back then. But now, you are stronger. You are softer in the right ways and stronger in the places that used to collapse under pressure. You are ready to carry what heaven is giving you. When the private investigator finally spoke, it was as if something ancient was unlocked, like a dam finally breaking after years of pressure. But the flood that follows isn't chaos, it's cleansing. It's not here to overwhelm you, it's here to wash away what was never meant to stay. The tears you've cried in silence, the confusion you've carried in secret, the prayers that felt like they vanished into the air, they were never lost. They were seeds. And today, those seeds are breaking open. What was planted in pain is rising in power. You don't need to chase closure. It's already finding you. You don't need to force reconciliation with those who refuse to see you clearly. Heaven has already written your vindication in places no man can erase. You don't even need to explain what you've been through. This new season doesn't require an audience. It only requires your heart. A heart open enough to receive. A heart soft enough to forgive. A heart strong enough to release what no longer serves your destiny. Type 777 if you walk by faith. There are angels positioned around you right now, not to defend what has passed but to guide what is coming. They are walking ahead of you into rooms your feet have not yet entered, preparing spaces that once rejected you to now welcome you with open arms. And you will not need to beg. You will not need to prove. The doors that open will open because of who you are in Christ, not because of who others say you are. There is divine favor marked over your name, and this confession was just the beginning of it being activated publicly. The struggles you faced were never your fault. A hidden brain frequency, once buried in secret research, has been silently holding back your wealth. Now, for the first time, it is available to you, and it only takes minutes to activate. Imagine the chains of debt breaking, the doors of opportunity opening, and your life flooding with prosperity. This chance may never return. Click the link in the video description and comments below to claim it now. You may feel the temptation to go back, to replay old conversations, to reanalyze the past. But I tell you, do not look back. What is behind you is not your future. What was taken is not as valuable as what is being given now. Heaven is not asking you to revisit old wounds. Heaven is inviting you to rest in a peace that no human understanding can explain. God's justice is not noisy. It is quiet and powerful. It moves slowly through your spirit and suddenly through your circumstances. You've been walking with a heart that's been both wounded and faithful. And that kind of heart draws heaven's attention in a way nothing else can. That kind of heart becomes the ground where miracles grow. And your miracle is no longer pending, it is moving. Even if you don't see it yet, the shift has already begun. Even if things still look the same, they are not the same. The spiritual atmosphere around you has shifted, and you are now walking under a different kind of light. There are blessings that were tied up in spiritual warfare that have now been released because of this moment. The confession was the unlocking key. Not because of the man who spoke it, but because of the divine timing that brought it forward. The truth had to come forth now, because you are ready not just to know it, but to live beyond it. This is about more than answers. This is about restoration. The kind that doesn't just fill in the gaps, but gives you back more than you lost. The kind that heals the memory, not just the moment. The kind that changes your story in ways only heaven can explain. There will be divine appointments in the days ahead, people who speak life into you without knowing your pain, moments where you feel seen in ways you thought weren't possible anymore. Don't ignore these moments. They are heaven's confirmations. Let them land in your heart. Let them reassure you that God has not only been working on your behalf but has been writing your redemption story in a way that will leave you speechless. So breathe slowly, child of God. Let your shoulders drop. Let your mind stop racing. Let your soul unclench. This is not a warning, it is a welcome. A gentle arrival into the peace you didn't think you could have again. A reminder that God's promises are still alive. That what was meant for your harm has become the very platform for your healing. And what was hidden from you is now being handed to you with reverence, with mercy, and with holy intention. Let your heart rest in this truth. The reason the private investigator felt compelled to speak is because God's hand touched the core of his conscience. There was something divine that moved through him, pressing against the weight of secrecy, until the truth began to tremble within him like a wave ready to break. And when it broke, the echo of that truth carried more than words, it carried spiritual permission. Permission for what was held back to now come forward. Permission for what was stolen to now be restored. Permission for you to finally walk free from the heaviness you were never meant to carry alone. Type 333 to welcome blessings. You've carried questions in silence. You've smiled through confusion. You've stood strong when everything inside you was bending. And now heaven is honoring that quiet endurance. God doesn't forget the ones who stay faithful in the dark. He crowns them in the light. And your crown is being shaped, not in gold, but in peace, in clarity, in direction, in undeniable evidence that He has been with you all along. You didn't imagine the delays. You weren't wrong about the shifts. There were hands trying to twist your path, but they were never stronger than the hands that formed you in the beginning. Type Amen if you believe God is with you, and share this uplifting video with 7 others to surround yourself with blessings and miracles. Let me tell you now that everything the enemy thought would confuse you has only clarified your discernment. Every moment that tried to break your trust has only deepened your faith. Every time you were overlooked, heaven was writing your name in places you couldn't see yet. And now, with this divine release, the timeline of your future is unfolding, not in fear, not in revenge, but in peace. You are not meant to chase what was exposed. You are meant to embrace what is arriving. This is a season where you don't have to defend yourself. You don't have to explain. You don't have to prove. The evidence is rising by itself. The favor is finding you by itself. The blessings are locating your name without any effort on your part. Because the one who truly sees is moving. And when God moves, no force, seen or unseen, can interrupt what He has already ordained. Not people, not systems, not delay, not deception. Even now, as you sit with this message, I know there are parts of you still aching, still unsure how to move forward from what you now know. But you don't have to move forward by your own strength. Heaven is carrying you. You don't have to pretend to be okay. You are being held in arms that understand every part of your story. The Lord Himself is surrounding you like a blanket, pulling you close, not to scold you for trusting the wrong people, but to remind you that your heart is still good, still pure, still deeply loved. Let this be the moment where you finally allow yourself to rest. Not because the fight is over in the world around you, but because the fight is over in your soul. You no longer need to battle for truth. It has arrived. You no longer need to beg for clarity. It is here. The confession was never meant to hurt you, it was meant to free you. And freedom, even when it arrives with unexpected information, always carries healing in its hands. You will begin to notice the change in subtle ways. Peace will meet you in rooms that once made you anxious. Joy will find you in moments where you used to feel numb. Laughter will return, not forced, but flowing. You will begin to notice that even the way you breathe feels lighter. Not because the weight was lifted by man, but because heaven intervened. And when heaven intervenes, the impossible becomes the inevitable. Let your heart be gentle with itself in this unfolding. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not broken. You are becoming. Becoming someone who walks with wisdom and grace. Someone who has walked through betrayal but carries no bitterness. Someone who has faced silence but holds no shame. Someone who knows what it means to be kept by God even when everything else tried to pull you apart. Type 1212 if you believe God is guiding you. This is not the end of the story. This is the middle, the turning point. And from here on, everything begins to shift. Even as you read this, angels are moving things around you. Doors are opening in places you never knocked. Hearts are being softened where they were once hardened against you. Resources are being aligned, and help is being sent, not because you asked, but because God saw the need before you could even speak it. That is the kind of care that covers you now. So breathe. Let go. Receive this truth not as a burden, but as a gift. The confession was the key. Your spirit is the lock. And heaven has turned it, not to remind you of what you lost, but to prepare you for what you're about to gain. You have waited, you have prayed, and now you are stepping into the answer, even if it's arriving in a way you didn't expect. Let this settle deep into your heart. Nothing that was exposed is more powerful than the healing that is now arriving. Nothing that was said can undo the blessings that are already set in motion. There is a holy stillness entering your life now, like a gentle hush after heavy rainfall, and this stillness is not emptiness, it's preparation. Heaven always goes quiet before something holy is birthed. It is in this silence that God begins to pour into the areas where confusion once lived, filling every hollow place with peace, every anxious thought with calm, and every moment of uncertainty with divine assurance. This is your holy reset. The confession didn't bring chaos, it cleared the way. It pulled up the roots of things that were never meant to grow in your life. It exposed the lies that clung to your identity. It lifted the fog that made you question your instincts, your kindness, your trust. And now you are standing in the clear, not because everything around you changed overnight, but because the truth finally gave your spirit permission to breathe again. What if you could unlock a secret brain wave that top scientists discovered inside the hippocampus, the very switch that signals wealth and abundance? Hidden from the public for decades, this breakthrough can rewire your mind to attract prosperity faster than you imagined. Picture the stress of bills replaced with financial freedom and new opportunities. Every delay is a missed blessing, and those who act now are already walking into the wealth you deserve. Step forward before the door closes. Click the link in the video description and comments below to activate this ancient money wave and step into abundance today. There are things God is now building in your life that couldn't begin until that confession was made. There are doors that couldn't open because the spiritual ground was not yet clean. But now the ground has been cleared. The space has been made holy. The air has shifted, and heaven is already sending forth what was waiting for release. You will begin to notice that prayers you once forgot you prayed are now being answered in ways more gentle and specific than you imagined. You will find yourself stepping into moments that feel oddly familiar, not because you've been there before, but because your spirit already knew they were coming. Do not doubt the timing. It is perfect. The delay was never a denial. It was protection. It was preparation. It was the kind of delay only heaven can orchestrate, the kind that ensures you don't step into a blessing half-ready or half-healed. God has always been more concerned with the condition of your heart than the speed of your progress. And now your heart is in a place where it can carry the blessing without it breaking you. Where you can walk into favor without losing your peace. Where you can receive what's yours without compromising who you are. Let yourself feel the nearness of God in this part of the journey. Not as a distant force, but as a loving presence that has followed you through every room, every season, every silence. God was with you when the lies were spoken. He was with you when the truth stayed hidden. He was with you when your spirit felt tired from fighting unseen battles. And now He is with you as the light begins to shine into every corner that once carried confusion. The truth has not just set things in motion, it has brought your heart into alignment with God's timing. And that timing is now. Not next year. Not after more pain. Not after you fix more things. Now. Even in the imperfection. Even in the fragments. even in the questions that still haven't been answered. God does not need your life to look whole before He moves. He simply needs your heart to be open. And it is open now, isn't it? You've felt the stir. You've sensed the shift. And this shift is not just emotional, it is spiritual. It is heaven's gentle pull, guiding you into a promise that was always yours, even when others tried to block it from reaching you. Type 888 to open doors of abundance. What you are stepping into is not just restoration, it is realignment. God is moving things around in your life with holy intention. He's closing doors you were never meant to walk through again. He's sealing up conversations that don't need revisiting. He's cutting cords to the weight you've carried for far too long. And in their place, He is building something that won't crumble this time. A peace that won't fade. A joy that doesn't disappear. A purpose that can't be stolen. You've been faithful in silence. Now heaven is about to be loud with blessings. Not because you forced anything, but because God is faithful to those who wait with honesty, even when the waiting hurts. You will not miss what's coming. It will find you. It will meet you in your stillness. It will speak into your spirit in moments of quiet. It will arrive exactly when your heart is ready to hold it. So breathe this in: you are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not too late. You are exactly where you need to be for God to do what He always planned. You are in the center of His grace. And His grace never shows up empty-handed. It arrives carrying healing, favor, restoration, and the kind of love that holds you even when nothing makes sense. The person who spoke did not even realize how deeply heaven would use his words. He believed he was simply doing his part, revealing truth from the shadows, but what he triggered was much more than exposure. He triggered heaven's timing. He triggered the unraveling of delays. He triggered the moment where spiritual resistance begins to weaken and every promise God has whispered over your life starts coming forth with boldness and speed. Because truth, when it arrives at God's command, does not simply settle things, it shakes things loose. It tears down the lies. It removes the wrong attachments. And it clears the path for miracles to move freely. There are things that once felt out of reach that are now within your grasp, not because anything about your situation changed overnight, but because heaven has made a ruling. That ruling says you are free. Free from the lies that circled your name. Free from the emotional weight of confusion. Free from the spiritual ties that were quietly draining your strength. You don't need to explain how it happened. You only need to walk in it. This is the part where you rise. And your rising won't be noisy, it won't be dramatic. It will be steady, gentle, beautiful, and absolutely undeniable. Even now, as you hold this message in your heart, angels are surrounding you, not because you're broken, but because you are chosen. You are being guarded by heaven's finest, not because you're in danger, but because your anointing is too precious to be touched by what used to reach you. There's a hedge being restored around your peace. There's a light returning to your eyes. There's a sense of belonging that's beginning to rise inside of you again. Not to people. Not to titles. But to God. And once your spirit returns to that place of knowing that you are His, that you are covered, that you are protected, everything around you starts to change. This isn't just about what was said. It's about what that confession made room for. Your name has been whispered in heaven's council. There are promises with your name on them that have been waiting for this very moment to be released. The weight you've carried, the spiritual tension you've endured, it has not been in vain. You are being compensated by heaven in ways the world cannot measure. There are divine appointments already scheduled with your spirit. And they will arrive in perfect timing, not early, not late, but when your soul is ready to recognize them and walk through the doors with peace. Type 1010 if you trust in God's timing. You will feel things shifting before they are visible. That's how heaven works. The wind changes before the trees move. Your atmosphere is changing. The spiritual air around you is softening. The resistance you've been pushing against is beginning to fall away. And what comes next will not require effort. It will require surrender. You won't need to fight. You'll only need to rest. Rest in the fact that God has already handled it. Rest in the knowledge that what's meant for you cannot be blocked, postponed, or taken. There will be blessings that make you pause, not because they're loud, but because they are so deeply personal you'll know they came from God alone. Encounters that soothe the parts of you that were anxious for years. Moments that feel like answers, not in words, but in peace. You'll look around and realize the heaviness that once lived in your chest is no longer there. Not because something outside fixed it, but because God replaced it with something holy on the inside. This is what it feels like when heaven moves in your favor. There is no striving. There is no chasing. There is only stillness, and a soft unfolding of grace upon grace. You'll find that you're no longer triggered by the old memories. The pain that once pulsed in the background of your daily life will start to ease. And in its place, joy will begin to grow, quietly, steadily, like a sunrise that no one can stop. This joy is not temporary. It's not based on circumstances. It's the joy of knowing that you were kept, covered, and chosen by the one who sees everything. Even as I speak, I feel the presence of God wrapping around you like a gentle wind, not to push you forward, but to lift you from within. This is where the heaviness ends. This is where the questions settle. This is where your spirit begins to dance again, not because the past didn't hurt, but because the future now feels real, alive, and filled with divine possibility. The confession was not your undoing. It was your unlocking. Let your soul rest now, not because everything makes sense, but because you are finally free from the weight of pretending you were not wounded. The pain that once tried to hide in your chest is being pulled out not by your own effort, but by the presence of God settling into those places with tenderness, not judgment. The confession didn't just set events into motion, it made space for God to step in as comforter, as restorer, as the faithful one who saw it all and never once turned his face away from you. There are blessings coming to you now that were once caught in delay, not because you didn't pray hard enough, not because you weren't worthy, but because the timing wasn't yet holy. God had to protect you from receiving blessings too early, before the foundations were set. But now, the ground has been cleared. The foundation has been laid. The soil is soft. Your heart is steady. And heaven is declaring, it is time. Not just time to survive, but time to bloom. To rise in a way that is peaceful, not frantic. To receive with open hands, not trembling ones. You may begin to feel a quiet pull within you, a gentle tug toward things that once felt distant or too broken to revisit. That pull is not confusion. It's not memory. It's restoration. The voice of God is leading you to places that need your presence again, but not the old version of you. The healed version. The wise version. The version that has been purified in silence, refined in stillness, and strengthened through every unseen battle. What once felt like a grave will now become a garden. The areas where you were once hurt will become places you bring healing. And none of it will be forced, it will flow. What if a simple 7-minute sound frequency could awaken a forgotten brain signal designed to pull wealth toward you like a magnet? Backed by shocking CIA files and neuroscience, this discovery is now changing lives everywhere. Think of debts melting away, promotions arriving, and abundance flowing freely. This is the one moment that can rewrite your future, but only if you claim it now, because hesitation will only keep you chained to the same struggles. Click the link in video description and comments below to experience the hidden wealth wave and let your financial destiny shift in your favor today. Type 1414 to step into divine protection. Your spirit has grown. Your faith has deepened. And now you are being trusted with more, not in the form of weight, but in the form of revelation. God is going to begin showing you why certain things happened the way they did. Not to justify the pain, but to glorify His power. You will begin to look back and see the fingerprints of mercy in every delay, the echo of grace in every goodbye, and the gentle touch of angels in every moment you almost gave up. The confession was part of this puzzle. But it is not the whole picture. The full image is one of divine order. Every part of your story is being woven into something beautiful, not in spite of the broken pieces, but because of them. The beauty is not in perfection. The beauty is in what was salvaged. What was saved. What was kept whole when everything tried to break you. And now, the light is revealing that beauty piece by piece. Let yourself feel joy again. Not cautious joy, not guarded hope, but full, childlike joy. The kind that sings without reason. The kind that trusts even when it can't see. The kind that rests in the arms of God, knowing He is handling what you can't. Your joy will not be taken this time. It is protected. And that protection is holy. Heaven has placed a shield over your spirit, not to isolate you, but to preserve the joy that is about to overflow from you in ways that touch others deeply. You are not returning to who you used to be. You are stepping into someone new, someone wiser, freer, more in tune with God's voice. Your steps are not random anymore. Your thoughts are being refined. Your heart is being directed. You are no longer wandering through seasons, you are walking with purpose, being guided by a hand that knows every detail of your future. Even when it's quiet. Even when it's slow. God is still moving. And you are right on time. Hold this truth close, nothing spoken against you has power anymore. No lie can take root. No hidden plot can prosper. No delay can stop what God has declared. You are now living in a new light, under a new covering, and inside a future that is already blessed. Walk in that peace. Receive it fully. And know that what was meant to harm you has already become the foundation for your healing. The confession you received has done more than uncover truth, it has unlocked timing. The divine clock that governs your life is striking a new hour, one where you are no longer walking in delay, but in divine appointment. The resistance is gone. The blockage has been removed. What was tangled is being untied. The spiritual knots that tried to limit you are now loosed, and your path is being cleared with every passing moment. There is nothing standing between you and the blessings that have always been yours. But more than just blessings, God is sending restoration into your soul. The kind of healing that doesn't just patch things up, but rewrites the atmosphere of your heart. Where heaviness lived, joy will now rise. Where tension sat for years, peace will now flood in like morning light after a long, cold night. This isn't a temporary feeling. This is a divine shift in your emotional and spiritual space. You are going to notice how differently you respond to things, not because you've hardened, but because you've been healed. Type 666 if you believe in God's grace. Let yourself walk lighter. Let your steps be unhurried. You don't need to rush to fix anything. God is not asking you to rebuild what He's already removed. He is building something new, and it won't resemble what came before. The people who once stood in the way will no longer hold influence. The systems that overlooked you will now be silent as heaven elevates you in quiet ways. And the places that rejected you will begin to feel the absence of the favor they once ignored. Your name is being spoken in rooms you haven't entered yet. Not by people, but by God Himself. Your spirit is being called forward. Doors are opening, not because of status, not because of effort, but because of divine design. And as they open, you will walk through them with humility and grace. You won't carry resentment. You won't carry bitterness. You'll carry light. You'll carry truth. You'll carry peace. This is how God moves, gently, deeply, completely. Not one part of your story will go untouched. Not one part of your heart will be left in pain. He is healing even the memories. He is restoring your mind. The late nights that haunted you are ending. The echoes of old conversations are going quiet. And in their place, the voice of God is rising louder, saying, "You are mine. You are safe. You are being restored. Let the tears come if they need to. Let your body rest. You are not failing. You are finally exhaling. The weight of years is coming off of you, not in exhaustion, but in release. Heaven is lifting it now. It is not yours to carry anymore. It never was. That burden belonged to a version of you that no longer exists. That version has been loved into healing, carried into truth, and transformed into something whole. This is where you begin to dream again. And not out of desperation, but out of joy. This is where you begin to see your life not as something to survive, but as something to bloom in. You will laugh again, not nervously, not halfway, but fully, with lightness and strength. You will begin to imagine again, not cautiously, but boldly. You will hope without fear. You will move without dread. You will speak without second-guessing your value.